Welcome, welcome everybody to Spiritual Matters Thursday. I am your host, Dr. Monikah Ogando. I have something funny to tell you because today's theme is, or topic or question is, why does God allow suffering? And we're going to begin with a joke. Yeah, because we're on theme, we're on brand like that. So I'm going to give it away to Gio because he has a joke for us. Go ahead, Gio.
Because of suffering. Monikah, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Which days are the strongest days?
The weekend.
Yeah, but why?
I don't know. Tell me.
It is Saturday and Sunday because the other ones are weekdays.
Oh. Okay.
So wrong in so many levels.
Good morning once again, everybody. This is the first time in a long time that we've had a joke on Thursday Matters, Spiritual Matters Thursday. So I just want you to know that I'm not blind to your suffering. I appreciate you being with us. That was a good one, Gio. I love that. So let us get grounded in in the now moment so that we can explore this topic that has been plaguing humanity for all of time. Gio, where are you and what are you thankful for?
I am here. I'm right here.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm thankful for today, I am thankful for coffee.
Oh, coffee. Okay. Very good. I like it. I like it. And Sorrel. Wow.
Good morning, Dr. O.
Oh, I'm so excited about your excitement. Tell me, who are you going to hug today and what time is it?
The time is now. And
Uh-oh. Am I the only one that's
now is
No, it's not working.
the time to hug.
Low signal.
Uh-oh. Well, the time is now.
Yes.
And
Okay,
I'm going to hug my beautiful wife, Susan.
Oh, Susan. We love Susan. Yes. Awesome. 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 I am excited to be here with you today because this is a question, like almost all the questions that we talk about here. I don't have answers to it, but I would like to explore it with you. And so, as always, how we do here in Spiritual Matters is that we start with defining our assumptions so that we are operating from the same sheet of music. And I'm going to assume that when we talk about God, we are talking about a divine intelligence, a divine creator, as it were. You may or may not think about how directly involved that divine creator is in our day-to-day lives. Maybe he's just kind of like watching you live your life and occasionally interferes so that you don't fall off the cliff because you don't see it or whatever. Or maybe it's like once the creation is created, it's like, okay, do you? I created you. Go handle your business. I don't know in the aspect of involvement, I don't know where you fall on most involved or least involved. But I want to acknowledge that that's a function, that's also part of the definition of God, right? So sometimes we don't even think about, oh, I believe in God and he's involved or she's involved, or I don't believe in God, or etc. Right? So I want you to think about that. And then the second thing that I want you to think about in terms of the definitions we're working with is what suffering means. For some people, they are okay with suffering as long as they deserve it, right? So it's like, well, if you did something quote unquote bad, then you need to suffer for that. Or if it can be explained, then they'll allow that suffering. Or if, what's another reason? If it's punishment, right? If it's the come around for the go around, then okay. All right, we'll allow that suffering. But that's your reasons for why suffering is okay, right? That's not necessarily explains the reason. So let's just be clear about those two pieces of the question. And then for extra credit, we're also going to address the word allow, right? Because the question is, why does God allow suffering? The implication of the word allow is that there's something you can do to accelerate or to impede the progress of something that's coming. And I'm not saying that God does or does not have that access or privilege in our lives. I'm just saying the word implies it. Okay. So with that being said, we have addressed the definitions and the implications and the assumptions of the question. And now we can talk about it. Now we can discuss what it is that we think is the answer to that question. Why does God allow suffering? You want my opinion? Gio raised his eyebrows like, I mean, that's all I came here for. There's another assumption that I make that you may or may not consider, that you may or may not have discussed before, but I'm going to invite you to consider. And that is that I assume that we human beings are consciousness that live through multiple incarnations. In other words, this is not your first rodeo. This may be your first time being Gio Gonzalez. You do it so well. But this is not the first time that you've been here. Part of my paradigm of the world, part of the way that I hold the cosmology of the divine, is that we've been here many times and that we're working out, we are remembering our own divinity by navigating our mortality, our humanity. So there are some things that you are subject to, there's some injustices, there's some inexplicable things that you may be dealing with in this lifetime that have nothing to do with this lifetime. This is a bleed over from a past life. Let me give you an example of one for you. In this lifetime, I have a friend, for example, who is deathly afraid of heights. Like, don't even ask her to, like, the kind of deathly afraid of heights that's like, you know, those hotels that have these beautiful glass elevators where you can see the entire venue as you go up and you can see it as you go down, and it's a beautiful sight. Don't do that. She's terrified of, like, seeing the height of the venue is terrifying to her. Even though she's encased, even though she's safe, even though nobody's pushing nobody, it is an irrational, inexplicable fear. And I make up, because of my paradigm of the world, she may or may not agree, that the reason why she's so deaf, because she's had no experience in this lifetime of like falling or of somebody threatening her with, you know, pushing her off of a height, you know, experience or whatever. She has had nothing like that. And I talked to her mother and her father, never fell as a baby from the crib, from, you know, the playpen, nothing. There's no experience in this lifetime that justifies such an irrational fear of heights. So I make up, based on my paradigm of the world, that she may have had a terrible death in another life, falling from a cliff or a helicopter or something, such that in this lifetime, she has such a fear of it. I don't know that that's true, but that's the explanation that I have used for that fear to make sense to me. And I assert that we human beings do a lot of making up explanations in order for the world to make more sense to us. And that's one of them. So what are the reasons that you use so that the suffering that you see in the world looks, feels allowable, or that God somehow permits it? I gave you an example of how I make sense of some inexplicable things. So I want to hear from you. What are some of the ways that you make sense of why does God allow suffering, given our definitions of all of those words? Gio, yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is kind of a stretch of a conversation for me, way above my pay grade. But if I was going to say something, right, the way in which I make sense of it in some degree is that I don't, like I said, I'm stretching, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't find human beings more special than any other animal in the animal kingdom.
Okay.
And so I don't ask myself, why is it that ants die every year or every day in the manner in which they die? I don't ask myself why some animals suffer the way that they do in the animal kingdom. A new lion shows up to the family and he kills everybody.
Right.
And the lioness is like, okay, fine, you're my new boyfriend. Fine, you kill all my children.
Oh.
And while it's happening, if you see it on TV, I mean, they're real suffering. Or one could say that it's not what the group wanted to happen.
Sure.
And I don't ask myself why that happened. Why does it have to be that way? I also, at some point in my life, I had cats, and my little cat had these two new kitties, was really 4. And this cat from outside hurt her or something. He came and he beheaded all the cats, the little bastard. And the cat and my cat, the girl cat, she was fighting him like I mean, that was one scene to see, and the noise. And this was at midnight. And I mean, everyone woke up. And when we saw the little heads of the little cats, right?
Oh.
And he beheaded everybody. He was upset, right? Or whatever, right? I'm making that story up. So I saw that as traumatic, if you will, for me. But the mom cat, a few days later, she was fine. And then 3 months later, she was already having cats. And there was no this huge thing like I made it, And so
right.
So this thing about meaning, that I assert into things, that human beings assert into things about life. I have come to a place, it's not that I'm settled with it, it's just that at this point of my life, it sort of makes sense that there is no need for me to bring meaning to that kind of meaning to life, but rather just appreciate the things that I can appreciate, and if I can, try to help those in suffering to mitigate it, to have it be less. And if I can do that, that's where I find my meaning, and hopefully I can make a difference in that realm.
Yeah.
But that God allows it, no, it's just that we got it all wrong. We're not more important than the ants. We just have a lot more power than the ants, not more important than the ants. That's how I make sense of it.
Got it. Got it. Wow. Okay. I like it. Nothing else makes sense. Nothing. I don't have a reason for anything else. So there's no reason for this either. Now, does that also mean I don't have a reason for it? Or does that mean because I don't have a reason, there is no reason?
There is meaning to life. It's only brought by humans.
Got it.
You know, so
it doesn't have an inherent reason, except the one I give it.
Except the one humans have given. And certainly I have adopted the meaning that all the humans have given to life, and I adopted, and based on my readings and my own research. Some make sense, some don't. And still meaning that humans bring to the rock. But the rock doesn't have a meaning itself. Earth doesn't have a meaning itself. Absent of human beings. So that's kind of where the thinking goes. Now, I don't know what I'm talking about, really is above my pay grade. But when I die, I do hope I have a chance to talk to God, because I have a lot of complaints.
Questions. Right. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you for that. That was powerful. And a great distinction. Sorrel, you have something?
Yeah, I want to hop in and stand on Gio's shoulders and discover as I'm speaking that there is a difference between pain, like physical pain, and suffering. So I may get my leg amputated, cut off, or I may be in a terrible accident. That is physically painful. And if I hear Gio correctly, suffering comes with how I personally deal with what happened, with the pain, the circumstances, whatever it is. So in that case, I'm making this assertion that God neither allows or inflicts suffering. There is pain in life. There's what happens. And human beings create suffering. And in that case, you may say, well, gosh, why does God allow human beings to create suffering and endure it when it's so darn painful?
Right.
Well, there's this thing called free will. And I think God says, you know what, man, if I interfere in any of this shenanigans that the humans are engaging in, I'd be breaking my own rule regarding free will. So God honors what God is by leaving us to discover our interpretations of life, and by leaving us to scream when we wake up and find out that the male cat beheaded all the little kitties. So I say God, the way I deal with it, the way suffering empowers me, is that God neither inflicts it or allows it. I am responsible for my suffering. And I can do something about it by shifting the way I'm relating to whatever it is I'm dealing with.
Yeah. Nice. I can dig that. Gio, you have a rebuttal?
Not a rebuttal, certainly not. I just want something that triggered my brain when Sorrel was speaking. And I just, Sorrel, I just don't know if human beings have free will. I know that will be a sermon for another church, but, or what do you say?
Sermon for another Sunday.
Oh.
It's not Sunday. It's another sermon for another Thursday.
Maybe it's another sermon for another Sunday, but I'm not so sure about that debate of free will. I don't think human beings have free will to the extent that that to the fullest extent. I think free will comes in a box for most people most of the time. Yeah. I just wanted to say what I was thinking, not to rebuttal or
Sure.
align with what Sorel is saying.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair enough.
Like I grew up, I'm gonna say some things, Monikah, and let me tell me what you think. Like I grew up in an environment where these questions that you and I are debating, or not debating, but you and I are discussing, would have been forbidden. It would have been like, how dare you ask something like that or question God, and I would have sent to my room and in some degree, or they'd be ashamed. I would have been ashamed of how would you even do that? Ask that question. And at that time, I didn't have the free will not to feel ashamed for asking that question. It would have just I had to be ashamed. I didn't have access to anything else other than how dare I think those things. That God allows suffering or not, or like what I just said, maybe there's no meaning to life. Anyway,
well, I mean, consider that perhaps in order for you to be able to access your free will, you need some level of awareness or consciousness, right? And so perhaps, oh, I just got it. I just got something. You mentioned the assertion that human beings are meaning-making machines. We insert and impute meaning on things. They don't have meaning in and of themselves. And one of the ways that we know that is because you insert a particular meaning to something, I'll insert another meaning, but the thing remains the thing, right? So it's our meaning, right? What if this idea that we don't have free will, or that free will happens only after consciousness has been raised, is also a way to cope with meaning making? And what I mean by that is there may be some things that you don't feel like you have choice about, right? Some people feel like they don't have a choice about going to work, or maybe they don't have a choice about raising their children, or maybe they don't have a choice about staying married to this person, or, I just happen to live in the United States, right? Or maybe I don't have choice about being at the daily huddle. But that I am making that choice, whether I feel it's not a choice or not, is also part of the meaning I assert to it. That I don't have a choice about it is part of the meaning that I impute on it. Does that make sense what I'm saying? And so to carry that to the theme of the day, perhaps we think there's certain suffering that is just part of nature, eat or be eaten. And perhaps there's some part of suffering that is earned, like karma, or perhaps there's some that is inexplicable. But either one of those categories, if I hear what you're saying and just with my own awareness of it, either any one of those categories is a choice, is a meaning that we've put on it.
For some. I don't know about choice.
For some.
For some. Yeah. What you and I are creating together and with Sorel, most of my life was not a choice. Most of my life, I didn't have enough awareness to say it was a choice. Yeah, it's like what you're pointing to, who I am as far as what I say and what I do. Most of my life, I never saw it as a choice. Most of my life, I saw myself as fixed. This is who I am, and that's what I believe, and that's it.
Right.
And I couldn't see outside that box. I couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. This is a good discussion. I really appreciate you playing with me in it. Anybody else have anything else that they want to add to the conversation? Why does God allow suffering? It's a big one, I know.
I read this book, Monica, and I'm going to try to say this in within 45 seconds. It says the book is A Stroke of Insight.
Oh yeah,
And
Taylor, right? Jill Bolte Taylor.
I think so, right? And she has a stroke. She's a neuroscientist from, I don't know if she's from Harvard or one of those big schools. And she studies stroke. And she has a stroke and she's only 30 years old.
Right.
And while she's having this stroke, she knows she's dying. But because she's a student, a PhD student of strokes and the brain, she's mesmerized by her own death. And then as she's awakening to this dying moment of her life, she's like, holy macaroni, I need to call somebody even though I'm dying right now. The side of the brain that deals with awareness with suffering was the one that was having the stroke. So even though she was dying, she felt no pain or suffering associated with dying because it was the side of the brain that did, but because what she had awareness of in the side of the brain was the one with mindfulness and being present and enjoying things. And so she writes this book to share people a little bit about how the brain works. But the point I'm trying to say is that depending on how your brain works, you have access to suffering as a choice. And depending on how your brain works, there is no suffering, even if you're dying. So the mechanics of the brain has something to do with suffering also.
The mechanics of the brain have something to do with suffering also. Wow. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that in. Yeah, because some of this stuff is really just biological. Cece, were you going to say something? I saw your hand up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just saying this is an excellent topic. I just love it. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And thank you, everybody, for being here with us today and being willing to play along with such a heady and heart-centered conversation and question. I really appreciate everything that you do to make sure that you're part of our daily Huddle family. And of course, as always, we want you to love big, laugh generously, eat more plant-based, sleep more, at least 7 hours, stress less, move your body. And as always, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Always audit your assumptions. Thank you, everybody, for being here. See you next time.
I have an idea, Dr. Ogando.
Yes.
You know how everywhere the Zorro goes, he does the Z?
Yes. Right.
You could do the O or the M.